Hello, YouTube. So, in this episode, I just want to discuss marketing, and it's what I do for a living. And I created a thought experiment for myself to sort of test what I would do if I was faced with a problem, an ethical dilemma, if you will, if I had to advise against my own code of ethics. And the situation I came up with would be if a organization like a charity approached me and they were working with domestic violence victims. Now they don't have to necessarily be the husband or the wife in this situation. They could be it could be an organization that deals with the children. And their original pitch is to show an ad where both the man and the woman are seen as the abuser and the effect that it has on the child, either its development or just witnessing the horror unfolding would be, strong enough. Now, if they pitch that idea to me, I would have to counsel against them using the woman as the abuser. Now, it's not because this doesn't exist. It's because in my opinion, very loud minority, and I'm going to emphasize loud, they are so fucking loud. There will be mobs of feminists descend on any organization who prints an ad like that. Um, yeah, it's because there's such a loud minority saying that, women are never abusers and that domestic violence is a gendered issue. And we've got our own Prime Minister in Australia saying that domestic violence is essentially, you know, man on woman violence. It's absolutely ludicrous. So even though I know as a logical person that, it takes two to tango, there's obviously male abusers and there are female abusers. But in a context of marketing, would I say to an organization that wanted to promote their cause, um, would I include women as abusers? No, I wouldn't. And that's a sad state of affairs. And it's why the men's rights activists and the men's rights movement are so important because it's a segment that is so often overlooked. Now, I'm going to leave you with this clip from Q&A, and I don't have my channel monetized, so they can't get any money from me, which is great. But it highlights the problem we have in discussing this topic, and it's why, as a marketer, I would never have a woman abuser in an advert. Now, this man is an abused person. He was in a relationship. She abused him. Now, the panel for this Q&A was about domestic violence, and they had someone on there he was supposed to represent the man's perspective. Now, the question is directed at him, and it's a brilliant question. And you watch how he deflects instantly. And what he does is he ends up twisting it so that all of a sudden males are seen as the abusers and women are seen as victims. All right, I'll just play the clip. Enjoy it.
The next question is from Steve Coe.
Latest available research from the ABS 2012 Personal Safety Survey and the Australian Institute of Criminology indicates that at least 1 in 3 of victims of family violence in intimate relationships happen to be the men. And the perpetrator significantly happened to be the woman. And I should know because I must say I am a victim. I was a victim. I was assaulted and I suffered immensely with psychological trauma. But the thing is that nobody believed me. The police, social worker, the court system, not even me mates. You see, I just happen to be a bloke. So I asked the panel, how do we raise awareness to recognize and help the male victims of family violence in such a way that we don't take away all the good work we already have in preventing violence against women?
Simon, you can start us off.
And that's a really good question, because when we're focusing on the majority, which is what we are at the moment, that far more women get harmed, minority voices get lost in this. Some of the minority voices that experience violence, I'm seeing an increase on the Gold Coast, and indeed we are nationally, of adolescent sons abusing their mothers. Especially when there's not another bloke around to say, hey mate, step it down. That's a problem. Elder abuse is a huge problem. Same-sex relationships is a huge problem in domestic violence and men. And those, especially with men, because we have this stereotype that women can't be violent. So it's a bit icky for us to take that on board. And they are marginalised, and there's no service provision. I think we have to invite those minority people into the conversation so what we're talking about tonight doesn't exclude them. I really think that's important.
Natasha, there is a push from some sectors for gender-neutral services. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, men and women, boys and girls, can be the subject of domestic, family violence and sexual assault. The ABS statistics are very clear, though, that women are 3 times more likely to be such victims. Can I say, though, that anyone who is the victim of violence deserves to be heard, believed, supported? There's no question about that. Violence happens to different groups, as we've discussed. It also happens not only in heterosexual relationships, it happens in homosexual relationships as well. The vast majority of perpetrators are men, and that's why it's considered very much a gendered issue across the world, and here in particular. So when you talk about neutrality, yes, we have to engage men. You've heard very good reasons tonight from everyone on the panel as to why that is critical, while behavioural change is critical. But also we have to recognise, as I mentioned before, there are some key determinants as to why we have violence to this extent, to this severity, and understanding that there are different definitions of the severity and the impact on women who are disproportionately affected. When you take that into account, we have to acknowledge that this is still a gendered issue. So neutrality doesn't always cut it. You've said it, Charlie, tailored programs, targeted programs. One size fits all doesn't work. There is a gender aspect to this issue, and that is not to say that other
quick response if you're going to get in, Simon.
And we can hold that gendered approach very comfortably with psychological approaches of attachment trauma and strength-based engagement approaches. It doesn't have to exclude each other. We can hold multiple approaches and invite the mental health services, invite psychologists, invite mental health experts, as well as all the other people already that are engaged in this conversation.
We're just about out of time. Natasha wants to jump in and just respond briefly. One line, she says.
Our vision is of a violence-free Australia. I don't want anyone to be subject to violence in our community.
Okay.